begins. I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth.
And we are Steel Magnolias, two sisters who love family, traditions, and all things Southern. We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Hi, Laura Beth.
Hi, Lainey. So this is take 2 on recording this introduction. Reason being, we had this episode scheduled to release last week.
Yes.
But when Fanny Flagg calls and says she'll do your show,
You bump things around. You move things around.
you start moving. So, yeah, we are recording a new intro because we had old news already.
That's right.
That was recorded.
Yeah, it's November and it's election day.
Yeah, so this episode will probably get trampled on by all things politics.
Talking heads that everyone's going to be listening to.
Maybe this is a good outlet for those that don't want to have the TV on or scroll through their feed today. I don't know.
I might recommend getting outside and looking at fall leaves wherever you are.
Yes, which is going to be...
Ours are beautiful right now.
Yeah. A lot of what we talk about in this episode, if it does sound like we referred to late October a little bit...
It's because we thought it was going to be. But we bumped it for Fanny, and you can thank us at some point for that. But, yes, this is a favorite place to drive.
Yeah.
That we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So
Let's jump in. All right. Well, today we're talking about the Blue Ridge Parkway.
That's right. It's the time for seeing the fall foliage. The late October is it, when it's so prime. And we just wanted to encourage y'all, if you're anywhere close by, to jump on that parkway and see some beauty.
Yeah, and even if you're not close by, I hope that we entice you by the end to take a flight. And I've got the airports to fly into that I'll be mentioning later. But I thought this was so funny. I stole this quote from myticklefeet.com, which is a blog that has a great post about the Blue Ridge Parkway. But the writer said, if I were to introduce Blue Ridge Parkway in a talk show, it would be like this. Built to uplift the U.S. economy after the Great Depression, this is America's longest scenic highway, the most visited national park site in the U.S., and not to mention one of the most famous drives in the country. Please welcome to the stage the Blue Ridge Parkway.
That's adorable. So I found that statistic shocking, that it's the most visited national park.
Yeah.
In fact, I read 200 million visitors a year, more than twice Yosemite, Yellowstone, and Grand Canyon combined.
So it has to be the location that it's
So that's
accessible.
what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That's it. That has to be it. In fact, it is like, especially if you think about, it's 469 miles long.
Yep.
So Cherokee, North Carolina to Afton, Virginia, or vice versa. I guess it depends on which way you're going. It's like a 4-hour or less drive from a lot of major cities.
Right.
Especially if you look at both directions. Like, because I was even looking just at how many major cities from Asheville.
True.
But if you look at the major cities from both, wow. That's a lot of
I
people.
should go ahead and mention airports just because we're kind of on that. So if you were flying into airports, you could go Washington, D.C. or Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay.
Those would be your northernmost connect to
Shout
get on.
out to the FOMs. Y'all need to do the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yes. So that's your best bet on the Virginia side of the Parkway. And then on the North Carolina side, you could go into Charlotte, North Carolina or Atlanta.
Okay.
So either of those would get you closest.
Just depends on
you're still having to
what
rent a
part
car
you're wanting to see too, and all of that.
Yeah.
On where you want to fly into.
Yeah.
Well,
or Asheville has a regional airport too, if you want to get like a little puddle jumper even closer.
Yes.
To get onto the Parkway. So
well, and Asheville, don't miss the Asheville part.
Yeah.
Asheville is so gorgeous, y'all. Well, okay, so here's just a few things that I thought were pretty cool about the Parkway. The highest peak east of the Mississippi.
That's cool.
Mount Mitchell. So that's on the Parkway.
Mm-hmm.
The deepest gorge is in Linville.
Okay.
The highest waterfall east of the Rockies
Wow.
is called Whitewater Falls, and the largest house in America,
Oh, yeah.
the Biltmore.
The Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina.
So
Home
that's a
of the
lot of
Vanderbilts.
that's a lot of highest, lowest, biggest,
That's cool.
right along that parkway.
Well, and so it mostly runs alongside the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are part of the Appalachian Mountains. So if you haven't heard of Blue Ridge, you may have at least heard of the Appalachian Mountains, or the people that hike the Appalachian Trail, which is super popular.
Thinking we may need to do an episode on that sometime. I'd love to interview somebody who's literally done the whole thing.
I had a slight college ambition to do it because that was like the thing, was people that were into hiking, because I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, so
Yes.
it's semi-close.
Yes.
That was super. I don't know if it's still popular.
Well,
right
I've
now.
known a couple people who've done little bits, but
Yes.
I've never known anybody personally who's done the whole thing. I mean, you're talking about months.
Yeah.
And you have to be sent supplies and just all of this. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But I would love to talk to somebody who's done it. Let us know.
So
if you've done it.
in thinking through, a road that's running alongside mountains, obviously that's going to be, you're going to run into some rock.
Absolutely.
So I think it's
lots of tunnels.
Super cool that, there are tunnels that are constructed through the rock in a couple of places, one in Virginia and 25
in North Carolina.
So I actually really love driving. I haven't driven the whole parkway, but I love driving through tunnels. I know that freaks some people out. Like some people are
claustrophobic.
Well, or like they're kind of superstitious.
Oh, okay.
Like, have you ever heard of somebody
Yes, I have.
holding their breath?
Yes.
Or I don't know if you roll a window down. Maybe
I don't
that's
really get that.
Maybe that's
'cause
over a bridge.
foreign to me, but
roll the window down or hold your breath. It's one of those. So there are, several sections that will include a tunnel.
yeah. Well, this parkway is beloved by motorcycles too.
Yes.
When I've driven it, I can't imagine driving it. Well, motorcycles just scare me a little bit.
Me
I'm
too.
not that brave. But kind of similar to the Highway 1 on the West Coast.
Yes.
How it's so windy, and so people love to be in a convertible or just feeling the air and feeling the curves. This is similar in that way. So if you've driven the Highway 1, picture the fall foliage
Yes.
mountain version of that.
Yeah. Not a coastline, but definitely scenic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so with names like Tail of the Dragon, Claw of the Dragon, the Diamondback, and the Jagged Edge, you're going to see some motorcycles out there.
And I think they even, if I remember correctly, have patches. Motorcyclists will get the patch because they drove. I think that those exist here.
Funny.
For driving some of the parkway. But similar to what we said on our Natchez Trace Parkway episode, this is like no commercial traffic really allowed.
Yeah.
This is a slower drive.
Yes, good
You're
point.
usually going to see 45 miles or lower per hour. And that's part of the beauty of it, is that you're not going to have trucks and going, flying by. So much beautiful flora and fauna of the region and just lots of biodiversity. It's just gorgeous. I love it.
Well, and so we've driven home the point that this is a beautiful season to be driving it in late fall. But what I would also encourage you to be on the lookout for, if you are driving it soon, is that this is the time where you're going to see some big old bears.
Oh, yeah, they're still out. They're not hibernating.
Because they're out more because they're packing their food in.
Yeah.
And, so.
Gorgeous creatures from afar.
Yeah, I was going to say, be sure and be mindful of the fact that you're not supposed to feed them and you're not supposed to get close and all the things.
Yeah, and when they're protecting cubs, it's wild to see. How angry they are.
Yeah.
If you're even close, you might not even know you're close to their cubs.
Right.
But
they know.
That's something you've got to seriously keep in mind. This parkway took over 50 years to complete.
It's a long time.
Started it in 1935.
Okay.
So, in different stretches. But, I'm sure it was quite the feat and expense to bust through some of those mountains and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea what that kind of work
What
takes.
that all look like.
We should also mention, if you go too late in the season driving, you need to be aware of inclement weather because we're on the mountains,
point.
so
That's
it's going to get
icy
winter weather
and,
sooner than some of the other parts.
Even get some mudslides and stuff like that on parts.
So even if you're a good driver, like if you're like, oh, I'm good at driving in snow and ice.
Yeah, but if it's closed, it's not an option.
Doesn't matter.
You need
They're going to close it.
Check that out. And I think they're pretty good about having that in sources where in your plan you'll know.
Yeah.
Should we talk about that? Like if you're planning a trip, there's some great resources.
Yes, there are. I liked the travel app that I found. It's the Blue Ridge Parkway travel planner app.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing about it is it has an offline map, because do remember that you're in the mountains and cell service is going to be very spotty.
Very good point.
So even if you don't download that particular app, make sure you've got some sort of offline map that you have on your phone. I mean, because who's driving without a map these days? I don't know.
But you bring up a good point, and our age difference kind of also brings up a point. You youngins think you got it all figured out with everything on your phone, but that stuff doesn't always work. So have a actual map in hand. Those still exist. Learn how to read it. But no, they have print versions, online versions, mobile versions. There's whatever you need.
Yeah.
It's out there.
So I liked looking through the app for the map that was offline, but then they've also got, all the things to do, including tours.
Yes.
I found 30 different tours listed, and there may even be more than that.
Like from different themes?
Oh, yeah. So I'll give you some examples. The Appalachian Mural Trail, which is going to show you murals in both North Carolina and Virginia. Like, art murals, like huge murals. Wineries. Of course, the Biltmore.
For that one.
The Biltmore Estate. That should be
mentioned.
Winery. Because that could be a stop if you've never visited Biltmore. Mining trips with like mineral and gem displays. Train excursions. Monticello, which is the home of Thomas Jefferson. That's along the Parkway. Like you could make that a stop.
Now, I've been there as a young person, and I didn't realize it was not far off the Parkway.
Yeah. And then in like warmer seasons, there's rafting and canoe tours. So, and that's just
fun.
In addition to like just doing things on your own. Those are just, I'm talking just organized.
Yeah. And there was a photography tour.
Yes.
That I thought sounded really cool too.
So Wnc Photo Tours, I follow them on Instagram.
Right.
They're
beautiful photos.
They're near Asheville. So they take you out for typically a half day.
Okay. And take you to the best photo stops.
And so even if you're shooting just with your iPhone, like they don't want just professional photographers coming with their own, big lenses. Like it even says it doesn't matter if you shoot with an iPhone or a high-end DSLR.
Love it.
And so they claim to take you to where only the locals know.
That's fun. And I wonder if they give you any photo help, like if you are using a more high-end camera.
I think so.
I bet they do.
I don't think they're just like,
dropping
I don't think
they're
your Uber driver
your
only, or whatever. So
that is cool. Well, there really is something for everybody on this. I felt like in doing my research, I'm like, oh my gosh, so-and-so would love that. Oh my gosh, I would love that. You mentioned wineries. I found a place that looked so cool in Floyd, Virginia.
Okay.
And it looks like an Italian villa.
Oh.
But they actually grow Italian varietals and make their wine like an Italian wine. And they did all kinds of fun things like, on Sundays they did like, brick oven pizzas and I thought like, okay, I would totally enjoy going somewhere like that. But the name was Villa and it looks Italian, but the word is like Appalachia, which I thought was so adorable. Anyway, oh my gosh, there's so many different flower fans. There's things for you. Horse fans.
Yes.
There's things for you.
Yes.
I just don't even know
One thing I think I just remembered that I was reading about in a blog. Actually, it was the blog that I started out quoting. So I'll link to that one in the show notes because it was a good blog. In fact, it had like a 3-day one-way itinerary.
Beautiful.
That I thought was really good.
Yeah.
But this person was saying, if you are going to do like a, really stretch it out, have a couple of drivers. Like have
that's good.
An agreement beforehand.
Yeah.
Maybe even go ahead and talk about that like somebody else is going to share in the driving.
Yeah.
Because this blogger was like, it was kind of a bit much for me to drive. And they had their mom with them, so they wanted to do the driving.
Yeah.
But like, it was just a lot of driving. Yeah. And you're not really going to get to enjoy the sightseeing as much.
Well,
if you're the driver.
That's true. And it's, I don't mean to say intense driving, but it's curvy.
It is.
So in that sense, like I wouldn't want to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I've driven Mom on some of it, and I felt like I was white knuckling.
Yeah.
A little bit of the steering wheel because it was a little challenging.
Yeah.
In that
no,
sense.
I don't do great, especially for like there's no end in sight or that I know that I'm going to be doing this all day long.
Right.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Well, yeah, I think we should talk about some of the things we thought sounded so much fun.
Okay.
But I also like that they, on the site you mentioned, the Blue Ridge Parkway
Association.
Like
Blue Ridge Parkway Association was the main one. Yeah.
They have typical drive times down, and I thought that was even helpful in doing your planning. If you're like, okay, I only want to do about 3 hours on this thing.
Yeah.
You can look and it'll tell you, how long it is from Blowing Rock to Asheville or whatever little stops. What to expect time-wise. Because some people even want, maybe they're doing it. They've already had a trip planned, but they have 3 hours they could play with. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a cool way to just incorporate some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though it can be its own trip, that's for sure.
Well, I found just a few stops that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
I mean, there's tons. So please don't think this is the only things to do. This is just the ones that sounded cool to me. I think we already mentioned this, but the highest point on the Parkway, that would be a cool stop. That's Richland Balsam Overlook. I don't know if we said that or not. But again, with the inclement weather, that one's going to get closed sooner than anything because it's so high up.
Yeah.
So if that's of interest to you, go sooner rather than late, or go late spring, know?
Yeah.
But yeah, Richland Balsam Overlook is the highest point. And then Apple Orchard at Alta Pass. Is that how you say it?
That sounds fun.
So that's at mile marker 328. And it's a beautiful orchard. It's nestled right in between the Blue Ridge Mountains. And it serves apple goodies and does cider tastings and just sounds like a really fun stop.
So fun.
Easy stop too.
And you bring up a great point here. This is not super commercial, which is again why it's so beautiful. Because you don't have golden arches on the side of the road.
Yeah.
But it also brings up its own challenges because, there's not food everywhere and there's not bathrooms everywhere. So you do have to be mindful of your stops.
Yeah.
I know our dad did a good bit of the Blue Ridge Parkway by motorcycle, and he really liked those stops. He's mentioned it's called the Northwest Trading Post. Mm-hmm. Which is in Glendale Springs, North Carolina. And he was saying, and I looked it up, it looks pretty neat. They have food, drink, restrooms, those kinds of things. But they also have 300 artisans from 11 North Carolina counties selling their goods there. So it's kind of a hit-all stop. You're getting a little art and folk culture and all that. But yes, other sites I thought sounded fun, and there are many, so there's no way we can cover them all. Milepost 298 is, they mention it as an equestrian paradise. Oh. You can do a 1-hour trail ride through wooded trails while enjoying the southern hospitality of the owner there and his family. Kind of take you on this little trip. I thought that sounded fun.
I love family owned.
I've mentioned Grandfather Mountain before.
That's what I was going to say.
Beautiful stop. I mean, it's just a beautiful place. They have a kind of a famous mile-high swinging bridge, if that's your thing.
Y'all, this swinging bridge. Have you ever walked across it?
We didn't do it, no.
I've never done it either.
I'm kind of scared of that kind of stuff.
I might need to post a picture on our Instagram just so people can appreciate this mile-high swinging bridge. It is really scary looking, and you can walk across it.
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
I interrupted you, but
I've had people say, did you do the mile-high bridge? But I didn't. I'm a little shaky on that.
I would do it, but I would be nervous too. I would. It's not like it's all exposed, but there's railings, but it's very daunting.
But I do love Grandfather Mountain. It's just a beautiful area.
And it's you've been to the Highland Games. We need to mention that. It's also famous for having North America's largest Highland Games, which are a copy of the Scottish Highland Games,
where you'll see tree trunk throwing and hear lots of bagpipes, all the things that make me smile.
True.
But yeah, you know, I didn't think about when we were talking about fall foliage. Some of these things are spring. You know, if you're wanting to there's I'm jumping ahead, but in milepost 411, Sliding Rock, it's a magnet for the young and the young at heart. It's a 60-foot rock water slide that goes into
my gosh,
an 8-foot deep pool at the bottom. How fun does that sound? I think that sounds
cool.
So fun. But that's definitely not for right now.
Right. Burr. Yeah. Well, I would just be prepared for a lot of traffic. I mean, we're saying that this is the right time to go, but word's already out about that.
Well, that's true.
So I would say, like,
you're going 40 miles an hour with lots of others. So, like, I even was asking somebody that's part of the Parkway Association, and they're like, yeah, I mean, trash cans are overfilling. Like, there's lots of illegal parking. Like, the people are out. So do be ready for, I wouldn't say crowds per se, because it's not like you're going to be in lines where you're going to, like, I know everybody's... A great thing to do in the social distancing times we're in. Yeah. But there's certain places social distancing might be harder.
Exactly.
Like the Trading Post if it's lunch hour.
Right. That's going to have a crowd. They're going to be on a wait.
You may want to try to go at 2 in the afternoon.
They probably don't have a good waiting area. Like, you know, just be ready for some of this stuff if you are planning.
You know, another thing I was thinking about is there are several of those beautiful, what they just call scenic overlooks, where you're just driving, you just pull off, take your photos, jump back on. And that's a beautiful thing if somebody's handicapped and they can't go do the water slide or the swinging bridge. They can still enjoy the Parkway.
Absolutely.
So maybe get, you know, grandma and grandpa in the car and just drive some of it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Go get an ice cream, even if you can't go on a 3-mile hike.
That's a good point. What else would we say about the Parkway?
Gosh, I mean, what better way to enjoy God's creation in a time when we all want to get out of the house and there's not as many festivals to go to?
Yeah.
You can still make it fun and go to the apple orchard and
and even just, I would say, like, speaking in terms of the Blue Ridge Mountains as a whole, even not just the Parkway, it goes even longer than what we're talking about. Like, it goes into Georgia.
Yes,
the Blue Ridge. There is a Blue Ridge, Georgia, and so even if you, I don't know, maybe you're closer to Atlanta and you want to just kind of
see the mountains, even though you don't actually get to the Parkway.
That's pretty too. And maybe if you're not wanting to drive, you could do. There's a Blue Ridge Scenic Railway. That's out of Blue Ridge, Georgia, and that's a historic depot in downtown Blue Ridge, Georgia, which it takes you on like a 4-hour, 26-mile round trip journey through the mountains, and it's supposed to be gorgeous. I follow them on Instagram too. Okay. I would say if you want to search on Instagram Blue Ridge, there's so many good accounts to follow. If you just like pretty pictures,
it'll entice you to go.
Mountains.
Have you ever looked up, I haven't been here, but I've had friends that got their picture made at Chimney Rock in North Carolina.
I've heard of it, but I've never been.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That would be a fun one to put up on our socials this week. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
And I want to do at some point in Cherokee, North Carolina, the Museum of the Cherokee Indian.
Oh, cool.
Because that played a big, they played a big role in the South. And,
for sure.
Yeah, there's many sad stories around Native Americans, but I think that museum would be interesting to see.
That's in Cherokee, North Carolina.
Yes, at the beginning or end, depending on which way you're going.
Yeah. That's so cool. Well, that's your 101 on the Blue Ridge Parkway. And
there's so many great resources. Maybe we can just put some in the show notes in case people are doing their own itineraries. There's lots you can read up on and pick and choose if you're a flower lover or a wine or craft beer lover or a hike lover, whatever. Yeah. There's something for you.
Yeah, I've only driven the portion near Asheville.
Okay.
I haven't driven the whole thing. And I love getting on the Parkway.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. The part that's up near Blowing Rock to me is the curviest part I've been on. We've been to Roanoke, but I didn't do any of the Parkway up there that I remember. Yeah. I don't remember doing any of the Parkway there. But, such a good gorgeous drive. Country.
Yes. Y'all know we love the South, so we find things to highlight. So, well, that's going to do it for this episode.
If you go, tag us in your pictures.
Yeah, we'd love to see them. Or even if you've already got photos from a past trip, put them up and let us share in your memories. That would be a fun thing to see this week. Peace be with you.
And also with y'all.